To many, the hill where you find the property for Mount Zion Baptist Church is just that, another hill. However, to those who know the history of this hill over the last 200 years, it's clear that this is much more than just another hill. It's a place where God has graciously gathered His people year after year. From a small gathering of community members that met once a month in 1823 to the hundreds of members that gather here every week in 2023. This hill is a place where lives have been changed and eternities altered as individuals have personally come to know God's love and grace. A place where people have been redeemed, ransomed, and reborn through the atoning work of Jesus Christ. A place where men, women, and students have been called to serve as ministers and missionaries locally and to the ends of the earth. Mount Zion Baptist Church is a place where the kingdom of God has moved forward as the desires of hell have been foiled. Brothers and sisters, this is much more than just another hill, because faithful saints have gathered here for 2 centuries and worshiped our good and gracious God, who is the head of this church. Let this bicentennial celebration remind us that, only by the grace of God, we are part of something bigger than ourselves. And as we remember that we are who we are because of who He is, let us be called to humbly follow Him in all that we do. That's been the reputation of Mount Zion for 2 centuries now, a humble group of people that faithfully follow a faithful God. May the same be said of us if God sees fit to allow another group of believers to look back on these days 200 years from now.
About that. And then, as you know, we got up to the pre-teen years. We kind of noticed that Mount Zion was playing a little softball, and as we got a little bit older, we got to going to watch them, and we'd go down there to the field of Mr. Jimmy Britt's down there where it was flat and didn't have a field back then, so we'd go down there and just watch them, because we thought one day we was gonna get to play ball too,
And I always watched 2 people, Kenneth Ray Britt and Bobby Britt, because they could run.
Well, Tom Britt.
Well, I was gonna mention Tom now. Don't worry about that. Tom was 40-something years old, see, and hey, we used to think 30 was old, but Bobby was smoother than Kenneth Ray. I mean, he ran. You could probably put a cup or coffee on his head if he could hold it, and it probably wouldn't spill nothing. But Kenneth Ray, I mean, he could run now, and both of them could. So we used to at least I used to kind of try to pattern myself. I wanted to be fast and all this stuff. And here come Tom Britt up to bat. And Mama had told us Tom was in the Army and all this kind of stuff, but we didn't know anything about him running track or anything. But he was a 100-meter guy, 100 yards back then. And Tom got up there and he batted I think they was hitting 5 or 6, and then they'd run one out. Well, old Tom got up there and he hit it. And I'm sitting there thinking, boy, they probably gonna have to get the wheelchair out and hit me on the first. But Tom hit that ball, and I'm telling you, like Jesse Owens. I mean, cause you could tell he had been trained, and man, his head didn't move. And when he went across, I mean, he hit a 2-hopper to the shortstop, and they got him about an eyelash. Now, that was impressive to me as a youngster. I was probably 14, 13, something like that. And Kenneth Ray and Bobby always were impressive to us, but here's Tom, twice their age probably, and he could move, boy, and that really impressed me.
Our forte was defense. I mean, anybody that saw the teams that we had, we didn't outsize anybody. I mean, but we played good defense, and that's what started helping us win. But anyway, when we started getting a team together, we put that little old field together over there, and boy, they'd be people come, just play any time. You could get a game any night.
That field was not like that. It was like this. And Jerome and Mr. Russell brought their bulldozers and stuff over there one day, and they knocked down those hills and field in those valleys.
Probably
and
corn road.
Yeah, that's why we got a field over there right now. I mean,
but pretty soon, you know, we got to winning a little bit. You know, next thing you know, we started going to the Baptist tournament, and the Baptist tournament at that time had 2 weekends. You played to make it to that second weekend, and I can remember from where we was about, I don't know, 16, 17, up to we were seniors in high school, and 73 was when we won. But we had never made it to the second week, and I can remember just like it was yesterday. We played 15 innings.
we went by that field yesterday.
We just knew we was gonna make it to the second week, and we got beat in 15 innings. Next year, we came all the way back, and that was our goal to get to. And we got to the second week and went all the way and never lost a game. Won the 1973 state championship. We had 16 runs in the first inning. We were playing Griffin Memorial.
And I think the final score was 34-3, if I remember right. I mean, I could be a little bit wrong.
So it was. And from that point on, you know, we started, our uniforms. We started, getting uniforms and things like that, getting a little more spiffy, I guess you'd say.
It's on the right side, just right off the road, and that's where we went to. That's where we're baptized. They could do that in the summertime only. You know, if somebody made a profession, they couldn't baptize you right then. You had to wait till summer. You know, winter it freezes. Yeah, we'd have a bunch of people down there when there's some baptizing. Yeah, it was an occasion, really an occasion. All the young people was there too around it. You know, they got to experience it before they even had to do that, you see, coming along. Yep, and it was an experience for me.
It'd be so many people in that church, like on like the first day of revival or homecoming, and we had dinner on the ground. There were so many people in there that we would try to get in the front of the line so we could go on and get our stuff and our food and go down there and get us a room, you know, all us youngsters. And like I said before, you could be walking through there, you were constantly bumping into, if you lost your balance and fell, you would just bump up against somebody. You wouldn't hit the floor because there's just so many people. And the joyous sounds of people just talking and laughing and having a good time. That's what I remember about that dinner on the ground. That was part of it.
Yeah, it used to be one of my jokes I told my kids. They asked me about the gym and stuff over, and I tell them, I said, we got a place over now where we can have our get-togethers and stuff. I used to call it dinner on the ground, but I said, now we got a table we can put it on.
The amount of really solid leadership, biblically, men that love the Bible and help lead, it stood out to me from day one. And not just men, but the number of women also that love the Lord and are committed to deep study of the Bible and teaching the Bible and investing in people, not just because they're their family biologically, but because they're their spiritual family. It stood out to me. The friendliness of the church stood out from day one. That as soon as we got here, of course, people were friendly towards me because I was the new pastor, but as I've been here, I've been able to interview, dozens of new members that wanted to join Mount Zion, and over, I hear that same thing shared. You know, whenever I ask the question, why is it that you would like to join Mount Zion, or what really stood out to you about Mount Zion when you visited here? I hear that over and over. Just people are so welcoming and they're so friendly, and they made us feel so at home when we came here. So those impressions really stand out to me and really in my early memory of just kind of the culture of the church. It's a church that loves God's Word, loves investing in sharing God's Word with the next generation, and that loves loves one another and loves the other people around them and their community.
We were married here to Mount Zion. It was on a Sunday. And as well as I can remember, James Allgood was the pastor. He was the pastor there about that time. That was only my father and mother and her father and mother attended the marriage up on, and it was a little house up there, parsonage. Somebody bought the house later on and moved it. I don't know where it went to, but it was they had a porch up on it, and that's where we stood and got married over there. I don't think you'll find many places where your wife is your next door neighbor.
No, you actually did marry the girl next door.
I fell in love with her for a long time before I married her. 4 years in school, and she was a precious wife.
All right, finish this sentence for us. Mount Zion Baptist Church is a loving, generous congregation.
Mount Zion Baptist Church is a church that through the years has been unified.
This church, my granddaddy helped build it.
A lighthouse in this community.
The shining city on the hill, or well, we're not a city, but the community on the hill.
A rock for the community.
One of the places that we were raised in,
We enjoy our fellowship together. We come here to worship.
Mount Zion Baptist Church is my family.
The place to be.
Always been a source of where we're going. We're going to church.
Shining in a dark world.
We have had a lot of good people come through Mount Zion.
Everybody just seems to blend in good together, to enjoy their times of being here at the church.
I've loved most every one of them.
I mean, that wasn't no doubt about it. On Sunday, you need to ask that, where are we going, We knew we was going to church.
Coming and serving the Lord and worshiping the Lord and having fellowship together.
It's just a place, you can go and it will always be there.
Just a place we were gonna be.
Good answer.
The first one I think about is Miss Ethel Mae Brett. She was such a kind, loving, godly woman.
Mr. Aubrey and Miss Earlene Allen.
My brother-in-law David was very influential. He was one of my best friends, first of all, and a brother.
Miss Hilda Lowry. Very much. She loved you just as you were.
Miss Maybelle Britt, that was her name. She was a very good source in my life.
I remember Mr. Lloyd's case. Now, he was faithful up to he was 97 years old.
Walter Cisco, he did the RAs, and he just did things for us that nobody else did. I mean, I'm sure there were some more people that could have done some things, but Walter just took the initiative, and Walter was definitely a guy that showed us how things should be done.
Mr. Hoyt Case and Miss Blanche Walker and Miss Ethel Mae Britt. Those were ones that stick out to me as faithfully serving the Lord.
Calvin Britt, he was chairman of the finance committee, so easy to work with.
Being here 26 years, I was here back when Randall could hear. Say what you want to, Randall will give you the shirt off his back. Randall has been a very positive influence on me.
I would have to say that every preacher that came along, we got to know them good. And it may have been because Mama kept trying to tell them, if y'all see me get up going out of church, y'all know what it is.
Keep things going. We'll be back in a minute.
David and Ramona both poured into myself and Diane, and they loved on our kids just amazingly, and so David was very influential.
David Smith, just numerous ones that have gone on.
Tim McCaffrey Jamie Wallace and Mr. Aubrey Allen.
Another place that we were could have been more loved and been a part of, you know, the community life we were, but all the deacons, the men of the church, the women of the church. I just remember all those folks that used to teach, you know, and how much trouble we give them and stuff, but it just, you know, we were just, you know, the community had as much to do with our raising as I imagine just about every young person at the same time. But
J.C. Smith. Who can forget J.C.? Just kind and willing to do anything for you.
Mr. J.C. and Miss Peggy Smith.
First and foremost was my father-in-law, J.C. Smith. J.C. poured into me not only as family, but as a young father and as a young man, and he's just been very influential. I think about him a lot.
Can't say enough about Brother JC. Him coming by the church whenever I was the new pastor and saying, "Pastor, you know, let me take you and introduce you to some of our members." And so again, him taking me to Aubrey and Earlene's house, and him taking me to some other senior adult members' homes, and sitting down on the couch or on the front porch with me and with them, and him saying, "Hey, this is Brother Zach," and really kind of vouching for me, how much he respected me and how much he trusted me, helped them to trust me. And I think no matter how effective the Lord ever allows me to be serving as senior pastor of Mount Zion Baptist Church, part of that will always be attributed, in my mind at least, to the way that the Lord used Brother JC, because him coming beside me, coming along me, and bridging that gap allowed me to have an investment and a trust from those members that would have taken years for me to have gained without his help in doing that.
My father was called into pastoral ministry here when I was 16 years old, and that was a special time in the life of our family and the church as well, as he was sent out. And then after that, several years after that, getting married and having a family, and my family growing up here at Mount Zion, our two boys, and just seeing them grow and mature, and also just seeing the church through the years, how we have worked together to overcome whatever obstacles it might have been in growing this church. As some of the elder members remember, there was a big hole out here beside the church. It was always a hindrance to us being able to grow and build out from the old church. And as we finally trusted in God and decided to fill that in, then the church really experienced physical growth through that project.
I was the head of the hostess committee for years and years, right before
Rebecca?
Rebecca. Mm-hmm. And everybody was just always willing to work, and it was always worked out good. And I'm glad that Rebecca came along and was ready to take over, because I had done all I could do.
Lot of revivals back then. It seems like there was a revival every time you turn around. Because when I was younger, a revival created me and my sister, Marilyn, to scrub floors. We had to get the hardwood, you know, scrub it, and then most of the time we had to go back over it with a little shellac or varnish or whatever for the pastor, because we always fed one at lunch. Mama did. And it was actually fun growing up.
My early memories was those two little what would you call them, caddy corners or something back there in the back of the church. where, on each side of the entrance, you had that place that had about 3 or 4 pews. And I remember Mama used to take us back there because it was a quick exit out without making a whole lot of stuff. But I remember, that was a place to go, and I remember the balcony, and I remember the song leaders, Mr. Carney and Paul Thompson, and the old deacons. How they would each one would pray, and they had some would get loud, and some would wouldn't as loud.
A couple of them I really enjoyed listening to them pray. Just like somebody said about Mr. A.E. Smith that I used to fish with. When he prayed, he sounded like he was talking to a friend. And Mr. Smith Foster and Russell Newell, I'm telling you, they could pray now. I mean, not that they practiced and tried to be good at it or nothing, but you could tell they were talking to a friend. It sounded to me like.
We mentioned Mr. Walter Cisco, and of course Mr. Aubrey was big, and he helped with that too. But we would. That was another highlight of the summer when we would go to Crystal Spring. We just
Clear Spring.
Clear Spring.
Not Crystal.
We'd feel like we was going to a desert resort or something, somewhere we had never been. Cause we'd hardly ever left the county unless we was taking Grandma to the doctor. And we'd go down there to Clear Springs, and we just thought we was big old dogs. We enjoyed that. And Mr. Walter and Mr. Aubrey, and I'm sure there was some more men, that took part. And
we'd always go in Mr. Dykes James' truck. It had had these sides on it and all, and we'd all stand up and, we thought we was something.
We thought we was something.
The great memories were also, there were a lot of young couples my age with children, and for us starting out, we all kind of grew up together here as young parents, and it was just a great time, just a great atmosphere.
And so, at the time, I don't really even know all the people. I'm just getting to know them, but these folks say they can volunteer and go, and so we load up on the bus and go. And so Dan and Don are going to drive. I had a CDL, and the two of them had a CDL, so we split and took turns. But whenever I say the two of them had a CDL, I mean that in that sense. The two of them had one CDL because they said that they had realized it's pretty expensive to keep a CDL up, and they had realized, hey, if we just have one and we swap it, if whoever's driving uses that license, nobody will ever know the difference because we're identical twins. And I remember thinking then, oh no, this could be trouble.
It's just been a very warm, receptive place that you feel at home at. I felt at home at Mount Zion Baptist Church. I was made to feel welcome immediately. Maybe I'm a little bit of an outsider because I didn't grow up here. I grew up in the Mississippi Delta. But the people in this church and in this community welcomed me, and I've never really felt like an outsider since I've been here, and I'm very thankful.
One particular time was when my husband died. I don't know what I'd have done without my church family. I mean, I don't know how people exist without that. I had my back surgery. The church was so good to me during that time. I just can't ever remember a time when this church wasn't there for me.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Okay. I realized that, whatever my vision is for Mount Zion Baptist Church, that it's probably too small. God tells us in the book of Isaiah that His ways are not our ways and His thoughts are not our thoughts, that His are as much higher than ours as the heavens are above the earth. So really, if I had to boil it down and answer the question, what do I hope to see God do in the future at Mount Zion? I would just say, whatever He wants to do. I pray that whatever He wants to do at Mount Zion, that we as a body would be open to it, that we wouldn't be scared of it, that we wouldn't see it as too risky or too big or too much or too far, but we would just take whatever He leads us to do through His Word and through His Spirit, and that we would follow Him, and that God would just have His way with the people of Mount Zion Baptist Church, and we would go along for the ride, and we would be thankful to be led by such a faithful and loving God all the way until the very end.
I want to see God grow His kingdom. I want to see the spiritual growth that I know that God has planned for us, such that we grow in our hearts so much that it flows out to the community, that we're able to reach and affect this community with the gospel like we're called to do. I'm so thankful right now that we have other signs of growth which are good, that we have numerical growth and our budget has grown. Those are all good things. But what I'd really like to see is the growth in the hearts of the people that are here, so that we can be about spreading the gospel, so that we can make that our mission to reach this community to the best of our ability and beyond our community.